Hello, welcome back to another episode on my YouTube channel. So, if you have been following, I am Ray, as you all would know. This is a personal blog. I usually speak of my experiences, at least in these first sets of videos. It's a 6-part, and it'll basically give you a rundown of who I am, the idea of what I've been through, and moving forward, probably just normal lifestyle stuff because, just an average person trying little stuff, probably for your skin and, just being a regular individual. The only difference with me, I just feel I have to be great before I leave this earth and impact some way, somehow. As Gandhi saying, wish to be the change you wish to see in the world. So let's get started. Last time I covered teenager, being a teenager with a mom that was pretty strict. So I was basically a sheltered teen, feeling as though I was ugly and stuff because I was dark skinned, and then I couldn't form friendships because of how strict she was, especially with religion and stuff. I had a brief exposure because my dad was neither here nor there with religion, so we got little leeway sometimes with little get-togethers and parties and stuff. So moving on to this week I'll be talking about motherhood, pregnancy, conception. So let's begin at my pregnancy. When I discovered I was pregnant, I had a new job in a casino. It was a really nice job. I loved it. And when I started to work there, about a month, less than 2 months into working there, I kept feeling sick, and it was really crazy hours because it was a casino that opens almost 24 hours a day, and I was feeling really sick, and I would take like little homemade remedy and suck some salt prunes, you'll be okay. And it was around Christmas time, and I remember we went Christmas shopping in the capital city, and I almost passed out doing Christmas shopping. And the lady, I went to check my pressure. They said, check your pressure and whatever. And the lady was like, your pressure low. They say you should take a pregnancy test. I was like, no. Well, taking a pregnancy test for, because I remember since I was working there, my period probably did come a little early. I didn't pay it any mind, and then it wasn't as heavy. But I didn't take it home because I remember the girl who trained me in the casino. I remember that's the first time I found out that tampons didn't come with applicators. And I was like, I gotta push that up. But I was like, I have no applicators whatsoever. She was like, no, you have to push it up. So I remember seeing my period since I was working in a casino. So I was like, what you talking about? I'm not pregnant. Push come to shove, the symptoms worsen, and eventually a day when I finished like 4 o'clock in the morning, because the shift was usually night into morning. I finished around 4 in the morning. I went to the public health center and I was like, I'm feeling sick, something is definitely wrong with me. They asked me, when was the last period? I told them whatever. They ran the test and whatnot, and I was like, I remember this doctor, I was so irritated because he just came up and he was like, well, you're pregnant. I was like, well, if I knew I was pregnant, I wouldn't be here. I just, but I saw my period. How? He was like, but it could be, it was a lighter period, it was spotting, it wasn't a bona fide period, but you're pregnant. Come back here next week to join the antenatal clinic, do your ultrasound, see how far you are and whatnot. The next week I went, I was already 6 weeks pregnant. So I had a little human in me for over about a month and a half, and I didn't know. When I found out how far I was like, okay. And then I notified my employers coming down to the end of the year. They said, well, it come like you lied in the application and you were pregnant and you didn't tell us. And I'll be honest, this is a sensitive issue for me because I tried to commence a court proceedings, but I study paralegal, so I know the statute of limitations is up. I cannot pursue it any further. And I was dismissed because they claimed that I lied, and I know I was pregnant, and I started to work and I know I was pregnant, which wasn't true because I remember having to use tampons without applicators, so I know I wasn't pregnant. I didn't lie. But ever since then, that was the first time I felt like I didn't fight hard enough for my son, because that was the first test, mommy, you're gonna go hard. I wasn't here all the time. You're gonna let them do that to you. And I when I become a parent, it was hard to try to upkeep okay. By the school, and they responded to my claim what going on. But the casino have a history of unfairly letting people go, and the lady in HR was known for that. And I feel bad up to this day sometimes when my mind runs. It's like, I didn't fight. That's the first time I didn't fight hard for my son. And as a parent, it's one to know, like, I tried everything in my powers to fight for them. And I didn't. And if I can help it, I don't gamble. I don't really gamble. So it's not something to say, okay, I boycott them. I never really use them afterwards. If somebody asked me about it, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't say it on my channel neither to try to defame anybody or have anything happen as hearsay, but that was the first time I didn't fight for my son, and ever since then I go hard for him sometimes when he's wrong. But eventually I realized, I was like, listen baby, he was wrong. But yeah, so I was pregnant and scared with no job, and we had to get a new apartment because I was living with my dad. My dad was living with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's children, and my son's father, my boyfriend at the time, was living with our uncle. That wasn't the best living situation, so we had to get an apartment with him alone working. That alone was a struggle. And when I said the conditions were bad by his uncle, it was like really, really bad. And I was there for a little bit even while being pregnant because I didn't like to be home too much by my dad. So I was there for a bit. And that's why I say, when I look back at our relationship, I really loved this guy. I was pregnant with this child, and a lot of people want to think that, you're gonna last forever and whatnot and thing, but life happens. So I found out I was pregnant. I went through my pregnancy, ended up doing a course that gives you a stipend, which is a little bit of money. So I didn't want to stay home all night home. So I did a food course that everybody, I was like, the little baby in the class, because I had the baby in man. It was really nice. I did something productive with my time, even though I was unemployed in a sense. In a corporate professional sense, I was unemployed, but I was making some bit of money doing this course, and I did it. And I remember I was so scared being pregnant, and then I wasn't sure, like, with my son's father and how the relationship going, if I really wanted to marry this person. And it was a lot. It's a challenge being pregnant. And not married is hard. And then when I go to the clinic, people just watching like, yeah, another black kid, belly big, no ring on no finger. Till some point I felt kind of pressured. Actually, my son's father, which was my boyfriend at the point in time, he eventually got me a ring, and I wore it on my ring finger, so I didn't look like a statistics with just being another black baby mama. So eventually, it's a little hard and whatnot, but I made it through. Eventually we got enough to get our apartment that I rented with one of my sisters. It was really nice, right in the heart of the city. The hospital was walking distance. Usually when I had clinic or anything, I could walk to the hospital and walk back home. It was really nice. So that wasn't too bad. But it was a challenge. Sometimes I felt he obviously wasn't planned, but I'm not going to call him an accident. You don't accidentally have sex fathers, unprotected sex. If you had a child, you had sex, whether it was, God forbid, a rape or something involuntary, it happened. And it wasn't it was probably an accident how it occurred, because we weren't planning on having a baby, but it happened, and I saw my period and everything, so I was the most clueless. I was like, what I had was a form of spotting. So fast forward a little bit to his birth was a lot, and I would remind him of this till the day I die. I was in labor for 48 hours. For those that don't like maths, that's 2 days, 2 full days. I went in Thursday, I had him Saturday night, I went in Thursday evening. They induced labor by giving me the tablets that you insert, rungs of tablets, eventually giving me the IV drips that help. You know, they stick something in here to pop your water bag. And it was a very challenging time. It was scary, you know, you're going through all this pain. And I remember my siblings and my mom just make fun sometimes up to this day because I was over it early on. I was like, listen, cut me. I don't want to push. It hurting too much. And I was like, yeah, now start. I was like, what? But yeah, ultimately I went through 2 days of that. And eventually around close to 9 or around 9 o'clock in the night, Saturday night, I welcomed my baby boy at over 8 pounds, some ounces. And it was one of the most gorgeous thing I ever felt. The experience was scary. For anybody going into it, I did almost everything according to the books. I went to my Lamar's class. Some people said pineapples were dangerous because this other lady had a miscarriage from pineapples. And but it's a pineapple toffee, and I felt guilty. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, God, just keep my baby safe. Like, if I keep my baby safe, I won't eat any more pineapples while I'm pregnant. I promise, even because it's a toffee. That is how paranoid I was. I was like, make sure this baby okay at any cost, because you don't grow so close to them in your womb that you're like, you know, nothing could happen to you. You have to keep you safe, your mind, your my responsibility. So yeah, back to the birth. The birth was trying. Got a little injured while through the process, and everything was okay after. Looking back on it, I remember he was in so much pain. He don't feel hunger, he don't feel anything except pain. And the minute I pushed him out, it's like, I am so hungry, like I'm dying, I need to eat, like what is going on? And I remember the lady who was like cleaning my up and stuff. I was like, my mom in the corridor, really hungry, just ask her for a bad habit for me. It's like, a bad habit? She was like, what's a bad habit? So by me saying that, I guess you could figure out, if you know about Trinidad culture and stuff, I am from Trinidad and Tobago, mainly from Trinidad. A bad habit is usually this kind of burger thing you buy in South, obviously. I'm from South. It's on, because the main hospital is in San Fernando. I had my son in San Fernando, and I was like, she was like, what's a bad habit? I was like, no, just burger with meat and cheese and pineapples and stuff. And she got the message across to my mom, and my mom was like, no, I have a Subway salad, she could have that. I had a Subway salad after 2 days of labor and giving birth. I had a Subway salad. Just look back on it now and laugh, because it was funny. I really wanted that bad habit. Eventually I got it. And then the first night sleeping, the nurses actually came to wake me up and be like, your baby crying. I was like, oh, okay. I was frightened because I was like, if I can't hear this baby cry, next thing I breastfeeding him, next thing I roll on him, next thing, like, you know, it was frightened. I couldn't even hear him cry the first night. But throughout it all, eventually you get adapted. So, you know, you don't have to worry. You eventually get it. Because when he came home, he breastfed until he was like 3 years old. I started all different remedies I tried to try to get him off, because I was like, 3 is enough, you're going to school, you're talking, you need to get off. And so even he was a baby, sometimes I would fall asleep with him on the bed, and I'd fall asleep sided with the breast in his mouth, and he would sleep until I wake up or he wake up, and I wouldn't roll on him. So all the fears that you're thinking that, oh gosh, I'm a heavy sleeper, I sleep bad, and when you go into mommy mode, it's like automatic. You're good, that baby will be fine, you good, it's okay, in a sense. And I watched that. So all these things I just be fearful of, and it was sort of a learning experience. And then to deal with boys, I knew nothing of gripe. I have 5 sisters. I know nothing of boy children, and my son had gripe almost every night. Sometimes the neighbors will see me anymore. It's like, the baby was crying last night. I was like, sure he was. And his dad would usually work late hours, so he'll come home in the early hours of the morning and try to calm him down. But I'll be up from 9 to 12, 1 until his father reached home. And something about the father touch, I don't know what it was, used to calm him down, used to get the gas out, even if I gave him the gripe water. Something about a father's touch. And even to this day, the challenges that I'm faced with him, I realize he needs his father. I know everybody not fortunate to grow up with their father and they don't turn out that bad, or they actually turn out good. But in some instances, some people, especially boys, need their father. And as upset as I might be and whatnot, I still try to have his father in his life as actively as possible as I can. So, because sometimes they really do need the dad. They do. Or a male figure that could substitute, and they know that they wouldn't go anywhere and be there for the children. One of the hardest parts in all of this was before he turned a year, we broke up for the first time. So we just kept a kind of facade that we were together up until his first birthday. So we went out to his popular ice cream place, Häagen-Dazs, and we had cake and ice cream and stuff for his first birthday. And he enjoyed it. And right after we were done, he went and checked his girlfriend at the mall. And it was kind of hurtful, he crying, he wants his daddy, both of us alone now on our way home from his birthday and whatnot and stuff. His experience 9 months with a child, and you're knowing that you don't want to hurt a child, you don't want to be responsible for the death of a child, you're trying to keep this child safe and healthy till you could successfully give birth to them. I think if men really understand the depths of what women go through, they might be more inclined to treat them a little better, because it's a lot they go through. It's a lot they go through. And sometimes I think, like, this is the man I had the baby for. But you know what, woman, sometimes, you may not have made the best choice, but you're working with what you have. You have a healthy, happy baby. We're going to mold him or her to the best that we can, give them the most amount of love and support that we can to continue. I know it's difficult, I know it's whatever. Sometimes you feel alone, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're engaged, you're married, widowed, divorced. It's challenging being a parent, and trust me, I all too well understand. So usually in each one of my blogs, I like to take away a point. So it's a personal blog with a purpose. As I said, the first set of videos would be 6 videos in total, just giving a backstory on myself, and then eventually it might go into a lifestyle kind of way if I decide to keep it up, because I'm here to give my experience. Hopefully it impacts on somebody. It shows somebody like, okay, maybe I could do this, maybe it's not as bad, she could do it, I could do it too, kind of way. That is my intention ultimately. So in this one, as I touched on motherhood and stuff, it's a little scary when you find out. Sometimes you feel lost, sometimes you feel abandoned, because sitting down there giving birth to my son, had a lot of girls that was there alone, bawling, crying, screaming on their own. I still had his father there, I still had my mother and most of my sisters there with me, and my experience wasn't bad. And then also sometimes, the healthcare system in our country, the older nurses, in my experience, the older nurses, one particular nurse was very mean. And this is the time where you're scared, you're frightened, you're bringing life into the world. It shouldn't be like that. So one of the points bringing out in this thing, I know I didn't touch on it much, but there was this one nurse, a young Rasta, kind of reddish Rasta lady that was so nice to me. And she tried to give me the painkillers, and she was like, baby, you see it all, I give you a little extra something, but I can't give you any more. She tried to reason it from giving me the enema to flush out the system straight down. And I had this older one that was just rough, and this shouldn't be the case. If you have a passion, feed it. I understand sometimes the older ones can be tired or whatnot, but if you're just going to say something like nursing for the money, don't do it. People depending on you, people are scared, people's health in jeopardy, their life in jeopardy, the life of their unborn child, the life of their loved one. So if you're going into something, go into it with passion. When you're single and you're not married and you're pregnant, it can be a very scary time, but you figure it out as you go. You figure it out as you go on. You do the best you could in the time where you have it. And ultimately everything will work out. Everything will be okay. So the 2 points to take away: ladies who are pregnant, you might lose the spouse, you might not have them right now. Situations could be really bad. Just remember, they could be worse, and you're going to be okay. You roll with the punches, you just wake up when they cry, it's going to be okay. Trust me. And the second point, which always got to me: if you're passionate about something, pursue it. You're passionate about helping people and loving people and nursing people back to health, do the nursing. But that one nurse that was just really mean to me when I was having my son, I would never forget that. And I was so frightened because you had all this pain and I don't know what's going on. And one of the reasons I actually went into the hospital is that my son wasn't moving as much. So they had to induce my labor, which made it even more painful. Because it was forcing my body to do something it wasn't ready to do as yet. The bag didn't burst naturally. So if you're doing something, do it because you love it. I understand some days you'll be tired and stuff, and I could understand if you was tired that day. But ultimately, if you're looking at stuff to go in it for the money, especially healthcare workers, don't do it. Do it because you love it and you want to, because somebody is going to be frightened and literally their life could potentially be in your hands. So that's the point for this one. So mamas, single mamas, first timers, even if you're young, dealing with pregnancy, and people with fuel and their passion. So I'll see you next time. Next time I'm going to touch a little bit more on motherhood and single mothers and being a motherhood as a single parent. So I'll see you next time.